Finally, I will share you that notes to you. Okay, if you provide email addresses, I will give you that notes. Okay, fine. So let us assuming here, I have one Java class called calservice.java. I have one Java class called what? Calservice.java here. And here I have one method called public int add method int I comma into j. Int I comma into j here. And just I want to use like return I plus j here. Okay. So what is my requirement now? Let us assuming here this is a one web application, assuming this is a one web application. So in the web application, this is a one web application here. Web application name is assuming here ABC here. Okay, fine. So now here this web application is running on one server here. It's running on one server here. Okay, fine. So now here I have another application here, assuming here maybe this application is developed by using some .NET technologies here, or let us say C++ here. Okay, so this is Java and this is some C++ application. What C++ application wants to do? This C++ application wants to invoke this calservice.java. From there it wants to invoke the add method here, and by passing some values here. Meaning what? This C++ application will try to invoke that add method by passing some values here, and it will get the return value here. Meaning what? These two applications are sharing information here by passing some parameters, and this method will give you some return value here. So this is the way they will share the information here. So now here this is the Java application and this is the C++ application. How these two applications will share information between these two applications we will discuss by using web services here. Okay, fine. So now here let us say, assuming here I am creating one Java file here. Now I am creating another Java file. Assuming here I am creating another Java file here. Let us say a.java here, right? So now I want to invoke add method from the calservice.java from your a.java. What you will do first? Tell me. First you will create calservice object or not? After that what you will do? That object dot you will invoke the method name and you will pass some parameter values here, and you will get some return value here. Am I right or not? You will get some return value here. Meaning what? Before invoking any class methods, this class should know what is the class name. Am I right? What are the method name, and what are the data types of that method, and what is the return types of that method here. Same way in our case, what will happen? The C++ application is invoking your calculateService.java. So now you need to share your calculateService.java details to this C++ application here. How you will share here? So you will create one format. Listen, you will create one format. That format should contain this class details, and that format should be understandable by any application, not only C++ here. Maybe it can be .NET or C, C++, PHP, Android, iPhone, any applications here, right? So meaning what? You need to create one generic format. That generic format should be understandable by any programming language here, right? So which one I can prefer? I can prefer the XML here. Why I can prefer the XML here is, we know that XML is a universal language. Universal language meaning what? That can be understandable by any programming language here. Let us assuming here I have an XML document. Listen, let us say XML document name is some student.xml here. Now you can write one Java program. Using that Java program, you can read the data from this XML. You can write the data into this XML also here. Same way C++. Same way any application can able to read the data from the XML document and can write the data into the XML document here. So that's why we can say that XML is a universal language here. Any programming language can understand by the XML here, right? So now if you are putting your service class details in the form of XML, C++ can easily read the data from this XML here. Not only C++, any programming language can read the data from the XML document here. So what are the details you need to put it here is simple. One is service class name, am I right? That is called a service name. We can say that service name you need to put here. And the next one is the what? You need to put the name of the methods here. In web service terminology, we can say that operations. What is that? Operation names. Operation names means what? Method names here. Okay, method names, we need to put it here. Method names. Next one is the what? Parameter data types. Next one is the return types also here. Return types. In addition to that, you need to provide endpoint URL of the web service, endpoint URL of the service class here. What is endpoint URL here? So let us assuming here, you are creating one servlet. Here. Now here, after creating the servlet, you need to configure one URL pattern in the web.xml file or not? Yes or no? So if anybody wants to invoke this servlet, he needs to compose some URL, right? Like http://localhost some 8080/application name /URL pattern of this service here, right? So I can say that that is the URL pattern for your service here. Same way, here in the web services, what will happen? Every service class should have some unique URL. URL means what? The location where your class is running here. So for our every servlet, we have some unique URL or not? Right? So that URL also, now here also we have some URL. URL means what? It's a endpoint URL, we can say that, endpoint URL. What is the meaning of endpoint URL here? The location where your service is running here. Why client should knows that? Definitely, if client wants to invoke the methods from your service class, client should know the location of the service class or not? Right, so that location also we will have here. So what is that location here is? Endpoint URL of the service here. Simple. This XML file is called as a WSDL here. WSDL full form is what? Web Service Description Language here. Right? So now I have some questions here. WSDL is always XML. What it contains, tell me here. Can I say that it describes about our service? Yes or no? So that's why they are given this name here is WSDL full form is Web Service Description Language here. It describes about your service here. So if anybody asks this question, what WSDL contains? What WSDL contains here is, it contains a service details here. Meaning what? Service name, that is name of the service class. And the next one is the what? Operation names, that is method names, parameters, return types, and the last one is the what? Endpoint URL here. So if anybody asks this question, what is endpoint URL here is? The location where your service is running here. Understood? Fine. So now here tell me, who will write this XML document? Who will prepare this WSDL file here? Who will prepare the WSDL file here? Let us say I am a service provider. Meaning what? Somebody is invoking my methods. So I can say that I am a service provider here. Here in the here in our architecture, this C++ is a client here, or consumer, we can say that. Understand? So service provider will design this WSDL file here. Maybe you have one question. Sir, I want to develop one web services. Do I have XML knowledge or not? According to this discussion, every website developer should know this XML knowledge here. Why? Because after creating the service class, he needs to prepare this WSDL file here. I can say that no. Why know that here is? Because we have some tools are there. Tools means what? Some predefined classes are there. Right? So for that tool, you can provide your Java class as the input. That will be generate the WSDL file here. Understood or not? So this tool is called as a WSDL generation tool. What is that? WSDL generation tool here. Understood or not? So WSDL generation tool means what? It's a one class. It's a one predefined class here. That class will take the input as a your service class and the endpoint URL also. It will take two inputs and it will provide the WSDL file here. Meaning what? Service provider will never manually write the WSDL file. If he wants, he can write it. Otherwise, we can use some tools to generate this WSDL file here. First point is clear, right? What is WSDL file? What it contains? Why we need to prepare this WSDL file here? Okay? Why we need to create the WSDL file here is, who wants to invoke my service? They should know about my service. That's why we want to provide our services details to that customer or client in the form of this WSDL file here. Now the second point is how we will share this WSDL file to this client here. Understand? So it's a normal XML file. Am I right? It's a normal XML file here. So now service provider will send the one email address to the client by attaching this XML file here. Understood? This is the one way of the sharing the WSDL file to the customer here, client. Another way is now we will have we will have another system. Client system is different and the service system is different, and we have another system. In this system, we will install one registry software called UDDI registry here. UDI registry software here. This is the third system here. This is the first, second and third here. Understand? Okay. So now here UDDI registry here. So what UDDI registry will now service provider, once he will generate this WSDL file, he will store this WSDL file into this UDDI registry with some unique name. Unique name means some address he will give. Understand? And that address service provider will share to the client, so that client will get this. Client will send that address and he will get the WSDL file here. I hope you understood here. One is what? Service provider directly send the email address by attaching this WSDL file. And the second one is what? Second, he can store that WSDL file. Service provider store the WSDL file into the UDI registry. We can say that publishing the WSDL file into this UDI registry, and with some unique address. That address service provider will share it to the client. Client will try to interact with this UDI registry by sending this address, and he will get the WSDL file here. Understand? Right. So when we can go for the first approach, here, this approach is somewhat difficult, right? Why we need to maintain some separate system, why we need to install this software and everything. Simply I can send the email address, am I right, by attaching this here. But when we can go for this approach, I will explain now here. Okay. So now here, who will maintain the system here? Now this system is maintained by some third parties, maybe the service provider here. This system maintained by some third parties or service provider here. Okay, fine. So when we can go for this approach here? Let us say I am developing one web services. I want to make my web services as a public web services here. Public web services means, let us assuming here one cricket match is going on, right? I want to create one service. That service, what it will do, it will get the cricket updates every ball by ball or every second by something here. My web services invokes the different applications. Maybe you can develop one application, you can invoke my service. Maybe you can develop one Android application, mobile application. From the mobile application also, we have some ClickBuzz, some apps there, right? So that apps also can directly interact with this service and they can get the results here. Same with different applications also may invoke my service here. Let us say if your service is invoked by the some 100 people, it is difficult to share your WSDL file to the everyone by sending the email addresses here. So what I want to do is, instead of sharing my WSDL file to all the people, I want to store that WSDL file in one location. That address I will share it to all the 100 people here. Understood or not? So that these 100 people will interact with this registry system and they will get the WSDL file here. So what I am trying to say is, if we have one-to-one interaction, better you can share your WSDL file to that client by sending any email attachment here? No. Lot of people are invoking your services. So instead of sharing this visual file email through an email attachment, better you can put some location, that is third party. So what I am trying to say is, this is an option in the web service architecture here. Understand what? Meaning what? If you are not using this, how service provider will share the visual file to the client here is? Through email attachment here. I hope you understood here. When service provider will share the visual file to the client through email attachment, and when he can use this UDA REST here. Understand? Right. So finally we got this visual file at the client here. Understood or not? Right. So now here this visual, what client will do? What client will do? Client will generate some classes. Listen, client will generate some classes here. Now this client is C++ client. These classes are the generated classes are the C++ classes only here. Right? These C++ classes will generated from the visual file here. This C++ classes will generated from the visual file here. These classes are called as a, we can call as a stubs. It will generate this stubs here. Stubs are the classes. Which classes? Generated classes here. This classes again depends on the client here. If it is C++, these generated classes are the C++ classes here. If it is Java, Java class here. If it is PHP, PHP here. Understood? So now the question is, who will generate this classes here? Again we will use some tool here. We will use some tool like your visual generation tool here. Understood or not? So what is the input for this tool? Visual file. What is the output here is? Some stubs we can say that here. Understood or not? So this tools are called as a, we can call it as stub generation tools. Stub gen tools, or another name for the stubs are proxies. What is that? Proxies, or we can say that it's a proxy generation tool here. Proxy gen tool here. Understood? Okay. So now here tool means what? It's a predefined class. Who will give that class? We will discuss later here. Here we didn't discuss who will give this visual generation tool, but we have the visual generation tool. Who will give this visual generation tool? That we will discuss later here. Okay, here same way we have some proxy tools, proxy generation tools. So using that proxy generation tools, we can give the visual file as a input, and that will be generated at the stubs here. Okay, right. So what stubs here? Stub is a, I told you it's a predefined class here. It's a predefined class here. So can I say that all your service class details available in this visual file, like service class name? Am I right? Next one, the method name, parameters and everything here. Okay, even endpoint URL also here. So based on this information, it will generate this class here. Meaning what? Whatever class name we have here, service class, with that name it will generate the stub class name is also same like cal service here. Right? And here also we have the add method like public int, method name is what? Add int I comma into j here, and don't expect the same implementation here. But what I'm trying to say is, finally this stub is look like your service class here. But here it is a Java class, it is a C++ here. But don't expect the same implementations here. Understood or not? Now after generating this stub, what client will do? Simple. It is a C++ class, right? Now stub is also C++ class. So in the C++ class, can I create C++ object or not? Yes or no? So client will create that stub object, and he will invoke the add method. Already add method is there or not? And he will pass this 10 comma 10 value, and he will get this, let us say result here he will get. Understood? But what is the implementation we have inside that? That is the main point. Correct? So what this method will do? What this method will do? Simple. Now this method should be invoked on this class. Am I right or not? Not in this class here. We want to get the dynamic results. We want to get the dynamic results here. Meaning what? This client requested method details needs to be sent to the service here. How this details will send to this application here. Simple. What now we are trying to invoke this method, correct? Now inside this method, what this it will do, again it will prepare one XML document. Listen, it will prepare one XML document. In this XML document, it will, this method, listen, we are invoking this method. Now this control list comes to this method. Now what this method is doing now, this method is preparing XML document. In this XML document, it will store the client requested method details. Meaning what is the method he wants to invoke here is add method. What is the parameter values here is 10, 10. What is the data type of this method? Int, int, int here. It will prepare this XML document here. Now here, this XML contains all predefined tags here. This XML contains what? All predefined tags here. The tags are called as a SOAP here. SOAP tags we can call as. SOAP is a what? SOAP is a protocol which contains some set of predefined tags here. These tags used by the stub to prepare the request. To prepare the request here. Digital file concept is over already. To prepare the request XML, I can say that. This prepare the request XML document here. Yes. So this XML request XML document is called as a SOAP request here. SOAP request. Why we can say that it's a SOAP request here is because stub will prepare this request XML document by using which tags? SOAP tags or not. That's why we can say that it's a SOAP request here. SOAP request is always contains the name of the method, parameter values and parameter data types here. Understood? So now this is prepared by the stub when our client is invoking that method here. Now somebody will move this SOAP request from client location to the service location here. Who will do that job? No, HTTP protocol will do that here. You know HTTP protocol, right? HTTP protocol is a transportation protocol. It will move something from one location to the another location here. In our web service architecture, this HTTP protocol will move the SOAP request from client location to the server location. So now we have the SOAP request here. SOAP request here. So who will do that job here is HTTP protocol will do that here. Understood or not? Right. So can I say that SOAP request is XML document? Yes or no? Of course yes. Right? Because it contains the XML tags here. Fine. So now at service location we should have one class again. Listen, we should have one class again. This class should receive the SOAP request. It will read the data from this XML, like name of the method, am I right? Parameter values and parameter data here. What this class will do, internally it will use some reflection API. Listen, reflection API. It will create this object. Which object? Service object. After creating service object, whatever method client wants to invoke, that method it will be invoked onto this object here by passing this parameter values here. So this class will do everything here. It will read the data from the client requested data from the SOAP request, and it will create the service class object, and it will invoke the client requested method on this service object, and it will get the return value or not. That return value again sent to the client here. But I don't know the client is C++ or some .NET or Java, anything here. Meaning what? I need to send this return value in the form of one XML. Yes. That XML needs to send to the client here. Understood or not? So now again this class will prepare one response XML. In that XML we have this return value here. So who will do that job here is this class will do. This class name is called as a skeleton. Understood or not? This, if your service class is Java, skeleton is a Java class. It's a predefined class. If it is .NET, class is a, why .NET here is, why if it is Java, why it is Java here is, because Java class can only create a Java class object or not. That's why it is also should be the Java here. If it is C++, it should be C++ here. Understood? Now skeleton will invoke the client requested method details on the service class object, and it will provide the response back to the client. How? It will prepare one response XML. To prepare response XML, again it will uses the tags from the. That's why we can say that it's a, what is that? SOAP response here. Now where the SOAP response is located now? At the server side. Again somebody will move this SOAP response from server location to the client location. Again who will do that job? HTTP protocol will do that job here. Now this SOAP response is again, it's an XML or not? Now stub will receive this XML. Now stub is a C++ class, right? C++ can read the data from the XML document or not? Yes. And it will get the return value. That return value will assign to this. I hope you understood here how the communication will be happen between the two applications here. Clear? Okay. So just let me explain one more time here. Then I will give you the good diagram. I mean, I will rather need diagram here. Fine? Okay. So you should understand one important point here is web service means it should be web application. Web service means what? It should be web application here. Client can be anything. Maybe mobile client, web client, enterprise client, standalone client, anything here. But the service should be always web application. Web application. You know web application, right? Web application should have some folder structure like web.inf folder, web.xml file, everything, right? Right. Our Java classes should be available in the web.inf classes folder here. The same structure you need to follow here. Understood? Fine. So once we create your service class, you need to put it to the one web application. That web application need to deploy onto the server here. Now one of the client wants to invoke the method from your service class here. What you will do? You need to generate the XML file here, WSDL file here, right? That WSDL file contains all your service class details here. Who will generate this? Who will do that job here is WSDL generation tool here. Meaning what? Service provider will use this WSDL generation tool. Using that WSDL generation tool, he will generate the WSDL file from the service class here. Okay. Here WSDL generation tool is a predefined class. What it is? It's a predefined class here. Okay. Fine. So after generating this WSDL file, we will share this WSDL file to the client through UDI registry, or we can send to a mail here. Finally, he got this WSDL file here. After got the WSDL file, what he will do? He will generate the stubs here. To generate the stubs, again he will use some proxy generation tool or stub generation tool. Again, it's a predefined classes here. Again, these are the predefined classes here. Alright. So if it is C++, stubs are the C++ classes here. If it is Java, stubs are the Java classes. Okay. So now I told you stub is a generated class. It's look like your service class. Why? Because whatever the service class name we have, with that service class name, stub will be generated. Whatever the method signature we have, the same method signature we have here, right? So what client is always thought no. So the stub is he can always think that it's a service class here, so that he will create the stub object. On the stub object, he will invoke this service class methods by passing this parameter values here. What this internal stub will do? Stub will prepare this SOAP request. Why we can say that it's a SOAP request here is because it uses to prepare this XML document, it will uses the predefined tags from the SOAP tags, and HTTP protocol will move this XML document to this server side. Now the skeleton will read that XML document, and it will get the client request method details, and it will create the service class object. On the service class object, client request method details, it will be invoked, and it will get the return value. That return value again it will put into the SOAP response here. Am I right or not? Again, HTTP protocol will move the SOAP response to the client location. Now this SOAP response will be read by this stub. Stub will get the return value. That return value will be assigned to the client here. Understood? So what are the main components we have in this web service architecture? One is, I can say that, skeleton. Yes or no? Skeleton. And the second one is the visitor. Which one are playing main role in this web service architecture here? One is skeleton. Anyway, visual generation tool. Next one is the visual file. UDI registry. It is optional, we know that, but it's a part of the web service architecture here. UDI registry. And then, yeah, SOAP, of course, SOAP, that is SOAP request and SOAP response here. And the proxy generation tools. And the next one is the stubs here. Total 6 components are there. I will repeat once again. One is the visual, skeleton, UDI registry. Third one is a SOAP. Fourth one is a SOAP. Fifth one is a stub. Last one we forgot. HTTP protocol also. Okay, I didn't include these tools in the website. It's a part of the web service architecture. Okay. Fine. So, yeah, these are the main main parts are involved into this web service architecture here. Okay, we will take 2-3 minutes rest and then we will continue this one here. Again, I will give you the need diagram and maybe you can take the diagram and then we will go for the actual implementations. Okay, so now once again we will summarize all the web service architecture point by drawing neat diagram here. Okay, so now listen. So I already told you web service means what? It should be web application. It should be web application, right? So in this web application, I have created one service class. Let us say the service class name is calculator service or cal service dot java here. Okay. So here I have one method, public int, method name is add. Okay, int I comma into j. So here I have written I plus j. Okay, thanks. So I told you in the web service side we have one more component called skeleton. What is that? Skeleton. I told you already skeleton is a predefined class. So who will give this class? That I will tell you. But this class again depends on your service class here. If it is Java class, and skeleton should be the Java here. Okay. So now in the Java it is always servlet. What it is? It is always servlet here. Why they are designed skeleton as a servlet? Why? Because the responsibilities of the skeleton is what? It will receive all the requests and it will provide the responses to the client here. Meaning what? So now when our client makes a request, the request should be comes to the skeleton and the skeleton will invokes the client request method on the service class and it will provide the response back to the client here. Understood? Let us, if you have one service class, maybe you can create any number of service classes. For all the service classes, request and response will be handled by the only one skeleton. You should remember this point here. Understand? For one web application, we should have one skeleton. That skeleton can manage any number of service classes here. Clear? Okay. So now, if it is servlet, where we need to configure the servlet? Web.xml file. Am I right or not? So always skeleton should be in the web.xml file here. Okay. So now, finally, you will deploy this application into the server here. Onto the server here. Okay. Fine. So what is the next job here is? What is the service provider next job here is? Now client service provider will use one tool called, what is that? Visual gen tool. That is visual generation tool here. I told you visual generation tool again, it's a predefined class. Am I right? It is a predefined class and it is a predefined class here. Who will provide these classes? I will discuss later here. So what is the input for this visual generation tool? One is service class and another one is endpoint to URL here. we are already discussed what is endpoint URL, right? What is endpoint URL? The location where your service class is running here. Clear? Okay. So visitor generation tool here. So now, what is the visitor generation tool output is? It will generate the visitor file here. Visitor file contains what? Service class details, that is service name, name of the methods, that is operation names, parameter data types, return types, and endpoint to URL here. Maybe you have one doubt. I told you in one web application you can create any number of service classes. Am I right? For each service class we should have one visitor file here. That is one-to-one mapping here. We cannot combine two service classes into one visitor file here. One visitor file, one service class, one visitor file here. I hope you understood here. Okay, fine. So after generating this visitor file, I told you either you need to store this visitor file into the UDI registry, service provider, or directly he will send, service provider will send this visitor file to the client through an email attachment here. Meaning what? Finally, client having this visitor here. Now after receiving this visitor file, what client will do? Client will use some tool. That tool name is called what? Stub generation tool or stub gen tool or what? Proxy gen tool here. Understood? Okay. So what is the input for this tool is visitor generation tool, and what it will do, it will generate the stubs, or we can say that what, it's a another name is what? Proxies here. Okay. So again this stub generation tool is again, it's a predefined class. Okay. Server side we have two predefined classes. One is skeleton, another one is the visitor generation tool. At the client side, stub generation tool is the predefined class here. The stubs are the generated classes here. Okay. So we already discussed capabilities of this stubs here. Again the stubs is again depends on the client. If client is a C++ client, stubs are the C++ class here. It is a Java, again it's a Java classes here. Understood or not? Here skeleton is also same. Again it depends on the service class here. Now whatever methods we have in the service class, methods will be available in the stubs here. Am I right or not? Now client is C++ client, assuming here. Now in our case it's a C++ classes here. Am I right or not? Now client will create this stub object. On the stub object he will invoke this method. Let us say 10, 10 here. And he will get the return value or not? Into result here. Result here. Clear? Okay. So now the flow will come to here. Now what stub will do? Stub will prepare the SOAP request or not? SOAP request. Why we can say that it's a SOAP request? Because stub uses the SOAP tags to prepare this XML document here. That's why we can say that it's a SOAP request here. So what are the things are available in here? SOAP request, name of the method, parameter values, and parameter data types also here. Why parameter data types here is sometimes we have method overloading, right? That's why we need to specify which add method you need to invoke. That's why we need to pass the data types of this also here. Now who will move this SOAP request from client location to server location here is? Who will do that job? HTTP protocol here. HTTP protocol here. Understand? So what this skeleton will do, it will read this XML document and it will get the name of the method and everything here. Now it will create this object. It will invoke the client requested method on this object and it will get the return value. And again it will prepare the what? SOAP response. Why we can say that it's a SOAP response here is? Because skeleton will use the SOAP tags to prepare this XML document. Now again who will move this SOAP response from server location to client location here is? Who will do that job here is? SOAP response here. Again, HTTP protocol will do that job here. Clear? Now, here we have 20 value here, and now the stub will read this XML document. That return value will assign to this. Understand? So, what are the components we have in the web service architecture? Tell me. One is skeleton, WSDL file, stubs, SOAP, HTTP protocol here. In addition to that, we have two more. One is WSDL generation tool and the stub generation tool here. So now I told you, right, web service is not an API. It's a specification. Means what? They are providing some set of rules. They are suggested how you will make communication between the two applications here. Meaning what? Web services suggested these 6 components. Web service suggested these 6 components here. They are not directly given any API here. Clear? Okay. So now here, now by following this web service specification, Sun has provided implementation, web service implementation, Microsoft, PHP, Android, iPhone, different vendors has provided the implementation for this web services here. Okay, fine. So now, very quick question. What are the predefined classes we have at the service side? Tell me. Skeleton and the WSDL generation tool. What are the predefined class at the client side? Stub generation tool here. Okay. So without these 2 classes, we cannot develop the web services. Am I right or not? Client is also same. Without these class, client cannot develop the client application here. Cannot invoke the web services here. Okay, fine. Now another one is, listen. Coming to this here. Now I already told you, we can have any number of service classes. Am I right? We can have any number of service classes here. So now when our client makes a request, who will take that request? Skeleton will take that request. How Skeleton knows on which service class I need to invoke the client requested method? Either on this service class or in this service class or in this service class or something here. Understood or not? So how to recognize now? Now here we will have one XML document here. Where at the service side, this XML document we can call as a web service configuration XML document here. Common name, generic name. What is that name? Web service configuration XML here. Web service configuration here. Here we need to provide your service class names, all your service class names with some unique names also. These names we can call as a service name, or we can say that some address, service address we can say that here. Understood or not? So when our client makes a request, what client will do? Client will send that service name. Let us say for our CAL service name is ABC. Service name is ABC. So when our Skeleton receives the request from the client will have this name ABC. So based on that, it can understand that I need to invoke this client request method on this CAL service here. I hope you understood this, why this XML requires for here. So every web services should have some common structure. What is the common structure? Simple. Service class, web.xml file. Why web.xml file? You know that. Why web.xml file? To configure the Skeleton. And the next one is the web service configuration files also here. Understood or not? Fine. Okay. So this is the steps we need to follow to develop the web services here. Okay. Fine. So now the same points I have given in the class notes here. Let me explain the class. Let me open the class notes. Just I will explain all the points here. Okay. Fine.